what happened is that I was progressing really well with my career. I was climbing up that corporate ladder at an amazing pace, and I was comfortable. I was comfortable in terms of financially. It was a well-paid job. I was comfortable in terms of I set the goals for myself. I had the vision, and I was ticking all the boxes. It was comfortable. I was challenged within my domain, but I was comfortable. And remember, with comfort, it doesn't last like everything else. Being comfortable does not last too long. And that's when the realization is after I got married. My husband was based in Dubai. I was commuting. I was still good. I loved my job so much. And I had my first child, and I loved motherhood as well. But the perfectionist that I wanted to also balance between the two. So I still wanted to nurse my daughter for the first 2 years of her life because I felt that this was me being a good mom. I was giving her the best nourishment, but also with the dynamic of my job and the expectation of how a mother, especially a nursing mother, needs to be around his child. It was difficult for me. It put a toll on my health as well. I would go into the photocopy room and pump milk and put them in the cafe fridge just because I felt guilty that I was working. I felt guilty that I was away from my child. I felt guilty that I was in another city. Well, she's probably home and I can't hear her murmur or blab or watch her fall asleep. The moment someone becomes a parent, I feel guilt is natural. It's part of the process. It's just like being protective. It's an innate sort of emotion. Similarly, guilt was very natural for me. I was guilty about everything. Even if I go in and take a shower and my daughter's outside, I feel guilty, Wow. So there was so much guilt because of my career, because of my lifestyle. I was a working mother after all. But there was so much guilt with that. And that didn't help. It didn't help. And that's when I realized that what am I doing? I'm commuting. My daughter needs to spend more time with me, but also with her father who's in another city. And even though I'm comfortable in my career, I'm not comfortable with me being the mother that I am. So I had to make the hard decision. I had to resign. I had to leave a job I loved so much. I had to move away from all of that. And I was enjoying motherhood. But with that enjoyment, sort of everything was silenced. And I realized that I was depleted. I was really depleted. When you're burnt out, but on another level, where, with burning out, you get a bit anxious, you get a bit tired, you get a bit, But for me, the burnout was so extreme that I was completely depleted.
Sorry for those listening. What does that look like?
So depletion can manifest in many ways. Depletion can be where you're completely fatigued, tired all the time, depressed, like nothing really is meaningful anymore. You're just like, another day, just another tiring day. You would sleep 13, 14 hours and wake up completely wrecked. It could manifest in losing your appetite or feeling that there is really no purpose. And maybe I thought I was going through an identity shift because I left a career I loved so much and I was doing well at, and now I'm a stay-at-home mom, but that wasn't it. I wanted to say that, but that wasn't it. There was some sort of a deeper awareness that there was a tipping point for me, but I was running on adrenaline. The moment I stayed at home, I quieted those voices. That's when I started understanding that there was something going on. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the shift, because if it wasn't me leaving my career and staying at home, I wouldn't have heard and felt the symptoms, the burnout, really, the depletion that I'm talking about. So that's when I started knocking different doors, doctors saying what was wrong with me. They would do the normal conventional way of testing, complete blood work, telling me, oh, actually your blood work is book perfect. This is what we aspire for new moms. And vitamin D is through the roof. That's amazing given you live in the region. Actually, I would say just go home and just relax because there's nothing wrong with you. It's like, how? I don't feel myself. I don't feel well. I'm not me. And yeah, that could be motherhood, but it wasn't that. It wasn't the right answer. It wasn't cracking it for me, And I would go to another renowned doctor, another known doctor, one after the other, and they're all similarly tell me, it's all in your head. There's really nothing wrong with you. We did all the tests. We can't pinpoint what was wrong. And my file with these doctors was under undiagnosis because they didn't know what was wrong with me. So I would take my medical file from a doctor to a doctor and it was always undiagnosed. And I hated that word, undiagnosed. Undiagnosed, excuse me, So I was fed up. I was tired. I had a child that was waiting for her mommy to look after her that wasn't capable of. I was also a wife. I was a sister. I was a daughter. I was a lot of things. So it was, also being selfless, that I needed to look after myself desperately. It was no longer just about me. And that's when I enrolled myself in a nutrition institute and I started understanding what shifts I could do to really heal myself and possibly what could be the trigger. I just wanted to understand. I was just curious. But the true aha moment is when I was visiting a friend and she has a beautiful collection library and she had this book by Dr. Oscar Shirella and it was called The Postpartum Depletion. I was like, what? You hear about postpartum blues, postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression, but postpartum depletion? That was never mentioned before by any of the doctors I met. That was never in any of the articles and the research that I was, reading. Yeah. So postpartum depletion. And I remember reading it there at that setting. Cover to cover because I was so curious. I needed to understand, is this probably what it is? And the symptoms, it was crazy. The exact same symptoms. Everything to the dot. And that's when I was like, you know what? I need more backed by science, research-based evidence like the ones in the book. And I need many of them. I need to really understand and get to the core of what's going on. Because if doctors can't give me the answers, I sure can find them myself.